Hi. Hi, my name is Rebecca Vasquez, and this is Response to Intervention. So I want to answer the question of what is RTI? And it's simply the program that we're using so we can identify struggling students before it's too late. We don't want to wait too long. You have students who they fly under the radar because they're quiet, they're well behaved, they are passing. They may not be A students, but they're not showing any obvious signs, and we don't want to let that happen. We will always want every student to be successful. We want that light bulb to go off. So we may look at different things. And I know as a teacher, I look at specific things because of my experience with juveniles. And grades are an obvious one for parents and for teachers, but sometimes attention issues and behavior issues are a bigger issue to me because they're showing me that there might be some personal stress a student is dealing with. I've had students who've had parents locked up, they're homeless, their mother had a back surgery, and they're the ones getting all the younger siblings to school. And yes, they're getting to school late, but they are getting to school. So there may be some things that we need to do to provide interventions for these students so that way they don't get behind. They may have some delays in their development. What can we do to help them so that they can not get too far behind and work do the best we can? One of the questions I get is, why does RTI take so long? It's a frustration not to see anything happening for my child. Why isn't more being done? And let me answer that question for you. As a teacher with 24 students in the classroom, in the beginning of September, I feel like, all right, game on, brain detective, I'm going. I want to learn what's going on in their minds. How did they learn? But some of my students, the mystery is a little bit more difficult, and I need to peer a little bit closer. RTI is fantastic for this. It does take me a little bit of time, and with the help of my fellow educators, to unravel this mystery. There are 3 tiers. Each one is more complex than the one before, so tier 3 is the most complex with what interventions we're able to provide. So tier 1 would be the first step. If tier 1 doesn't work out as well as we would hope, we're going to do more. So that would be tier 2. And if tier 2 is still not doing as well as what we want for a student, then we're going to pull out the big guns and use tier 3. So tier 1, one of my favorite things is being able to do small group instructions. I'm able to see so much with a student, and I have some later examples to share with you that talk about how I can make some observations, and I can see what a student's needing that I may not see with a group of 24 students. And there's tons of executives for all the students. So to me, tier 1 is mostly, it's the majority of students. They might need a little bit extra, but once they have that extra, they're good to go. They don't need any extra help. If that's the case, we're good. We just keep rolling. If these things do not work for them, then we're going to try some other strategies in tier 2. These are more specific to what a learner needs. Some of the observations I've made in small groups help me out in this area too. So I'm able to add some things to a student's learning. They might need something visual. They might need some interest surveys conducted. And I really like this for my juveniles because they were so burnt out with all their personal stresses. They haven't met with success in school. And so if I figured out what they were interested in, I found stories that they could read on those subjects. I made sure their writing was on those subjects. And as they built more confidence because they were writing on something they were interested in, of course they were going to do well. And from there we could expand to other areas. And it was fantastic to see that growth. I like social skills training. I've used it in countless situations. The 5 minutes after recess, everything falls apart in recess. I don't know if you're aware of this. Friends get mad at each other. So sometimes we get the chance to do some role playing so that people understand, oh, that's how I handle this situation next time. And to physically do it is some of the best example for someone to learn from. And not everybody needs it. So that's why it's more of a tier 2. It's more specific to what a learner needs, but not everybody needs it. Now, if tier 2 is not doing as well as what we hope, we're going to pull out the big guns and do even more. Tier 3 for me was how I was working with my juveniles. There was a lot of one-on-one. I spent quite a bit of time with each student, and the entire amount of time that is worked with the student does increase in tier 3. If you're looking at perhaps a fourth grader, they may be spending some time with an interventionist. That way they can get the help that they're needing, and they're getting more strategies that are very specific to what they need. During this time, you're going to have more contact with me or any of the other educators that are in your child's day. And there'll be more communication there, more conversation, like, do we need to talk about special education? It may not be necessary, but whatever we're using at school, there are tricks that we can give you at home that can also help your child. And during this entire time, I love to keep track of what's going on with the child. When I worked with juveniles, I met with them daily and weekly, and I wanted to make sure we were making progress. If we weren't making progress, then we need to change the game plan. So I do have some real life examples of when I'm able to see reading that can let me know that a child is having some struggles with reading. And something as simple as how a child is holding their pencil will help me know what's going on. And from there, I can seek out some experts that can help me do more. I was a writing teacher for fourth grade, so sometimes I need to go talk to the reading teacher, and we need to discuss, does this child need more? What can we do in both of our classrooms to help this child? Do I need to talk to the special education teacher? Sometimes listening to a child tells us so much. And as a parent, when you're listening to your child read to you for homework, if they're slow in how they're talking, in how they're reading, if they're skipping over words, if they have no expression when they're reading, that is something that you can come back and tell us as teachers, because we may not always have that chance to sit one-on-one with them like you do at home. And you can let us know, hey, I'm noticing this, and I think by this grade, it shouldn't be like this. So we can start that communication and find out, well, we got to do more for this child. Dyslexia is near and dear to my heart. I have a brother who's dyslexic, and sometimes, again, it's that writing that will let us know. So as a writing teacher, when I would notice that the E was backwards or upside down, a P was backwards, that would give me some clues that maybe I need to go talk to somebody else. I like using colored paper. Some students who are dyslexic really do benefit from a colored sheet of paper. And I'll have students tell me that they just can't read it on the pink, but oh man, that blue does wonders for them to be able to get their assignment done. And if that was the case, believe me, I have blue paper for them all the time, and their assignment was on blue paper. In all of my 15 years, I have figured out one student was colorblind, and it was because I love colored markers. I used orange on my overhead, and he says, Ms. Vasquez, I think your marker's running out. And the other students were like, no, it's not. And I started testing it. Red was also a problem. And when I got a chance to talk to his mom, he's like, have you ever noticed anything with color being an issue? And she's like, I don't know, but I'm going to go get his eyes tested. And sure enough, he is colorblind. And the only thing that went through my mind was that here's a 7th grader. And in the 6-7 years prior to my classroom, how many things did he not see on the board? How many things did he miss? How many notes did he miss? How many assignments did he miss? Is this why he was a struggling student in 7th grade? So any of these little interventions, they may not be special needs, but they are important. One of those things that over time is the learning styles that are taught. Not all learning styles are taught in the classroom all the time. But when we get intervention moments, we're able to reach all 8. And yes, there's 8 of them. And I'm telling you, when I see my little, some that I feel might be ADHD, if I let them move, they remember everything. That's a learning style. So intervention provides me and interventionists opportunities in a small group setting where we can maybe find out they are a different kind of learning style than what usually happens in the classroom. We want them to be successful. What is their strength? Let's play to their strengths. Again, when I taught math, I could look at how somebody would write something. And you at home, when you're looking at their homework, if you notice that the numbers are backwards, or they're not able to line up the words correctly, the numbers correctly, or their pluses or X's, that might indicate that there's a math disability. So when you're looking at papers that are coming home and you're helping them with homework, you're one of our biggest resources in saying, oh, wow, like maybe there's something we look at. Is there something we can do? Like here, this child was taught how to make a grid, so that way they can make sure that they lined up everything perfectly. Whenever I get small group instruction, I'm able to see how a student reads through a word problem, and I'll be able to find out, is it vocabulary? Is it that they're missing that a word means that you're going to add now? So as a parent, when you let your child read to you a math problem, sometimes you get clues that you can share with us as well. The whole point is to see what can we do to help this child be successful. One of the best friends is progress monitoring. And progress monitoring is quite a few methods. It could be as simple as me having a clipboard and I'm observing what students are doing, and I'm making a notation to myself to see they have this habit. Oh, they're using this strategy. Does this improve their grade? I like Accelerated Reader and Accelerated Math. You've probably seen some of these papers come home that look like this with a little blue icon in the corner, and it has your child's name. I get data printouts too. And from there, I can see what grade level your child is reading on and where they're struggling. And this helps me figure out, how can I help your child learn? What is it that they're struggling with? And they just need a little bit of extra intervention in that area, and they're probably going to be just fine. So again, it's that detective looking into the brain. When I worked with juveniles, I had a computer program that let me look back at all the previous grades' state test scores. And in there, it would show me that maybe they had problems with irony. Maybe they had problems with symbolism. And that told me I needed to work more on that with the child. Progress monitoring is not just benchmarks, so you'll see that. Sometimes there'll be a paper, just a little test where I'll give a speech to students saying, I just want to know if I'm teaching you as well as I'm supposed to be. If everybody gets question 5 wrong, then I need to go back and reteach that, maybe in a different way. Maybe I didn't hit enough learning styles. If I only had 3 students who didn't get that specific skill, maybe I need to pull them into a small group and work with them to make sure they have their interventions. So these are all examples of response to intervention and how we're using the data and the research to help us make really good decisions for your child. That we're not just shooting in the dark, that this mystery is not unsolved, that we can figure out how best to help our students. The point is, we want everybody to be successful. There are a few references here that if you're curious, and you can Google almost anything, but there are learning styles that I strongly suggest that you look into. It's not on here, but surfaquarium.net has a survey that you can either give your child or you can take yourself and find out if you're more math-minded, if you're a nature person. That kind of helps us figure out how to teach and helps empower somebody. They know how they learn. And of course, next year when there's a different teacher, you already have this wonderful piece of information to share going, oh, we already know they're a very kinesthetic learner. They need to move. If you're ever worried about math disabilities or reading disabilities, this one has this website, Letters of Literacy, has 22 signs that could help you see, like, maybe there's something going on. And because when you work with your child with homework, you see some things one-on-one, especially at the beginning of the year, that I haven't had a chance to see. So the more that you know, the more that you can share with us. And from there, we become a stronger team for your child. I want to thank you for participating in my presentation today. And if you have any questions, please ask. Thank you.